good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to Fur Buddy Builds. Stay tuned and see how we create the battle damage. So this is the last video in the series. We're going to complete this model by the end, and we also have a series of high resolution images of the final outcome. Here I'm using an automated sander or electric vibrating sander. It's cordless, and basically it's just got a fine pad, and I'm smoothing out the putty work that I performed on the model. And I'm using this sander as it allows me to get really close to the turret and get that smoothed out correctly. I do have a fairly low grit sandpaper on here because it does cut through the plastic pretty quick, so you have to be kind of careful with that. And then I come back with like 1,000 grit wet sandpaper and feather out the edge. And we'll go ahead and wipe that clean. And from there, we're going to use a filling primer to take care of the gaps. So for that, I use Mr. Surfacer 500, or 1000, excuse me. And I'll just generously apply that with a brush. And if you like this content, go ahead and do Sadie a little favor there and hit that like button for me. And yeah, just generously apply this. And yes, we'll have to come back and rescribe the panel lines later. Now we're going to generously apply a coat of the base color. And this has flow improver added to it so as to flow into any imperfections that might be left regarding scratches and or other things once we've sanded down that primer. And this is just to create a smooth and most aluminum-like surface that I can create. And after that dried, we come back and we'll just go ahead and add a second coat of that. And again, we just add flow improver to make sure that that glides and lays down very nicely on that surface. Once we complete this and it dries, we'll go ahead and add some chipping fluid. But in the meantime, while we're letting that dry, I realized I forgot to paint the wingtips. So let's go ahead and give those a prime with some Valaejo primer. So we'll just lightly put a coats and just keep turning it real light and continue to use air to dry it out in between because we don't want it to have any runs in it. And we'll just get a good coat of that. Get each of those painted. Now, one of the things I did notice is there was a suck out on the parts, and so we'll need to go ahead and get that filled. And for that, I'm going to just use some Testors filler, and we'll generously apply that. And after we get that, while it's drying, we'll be able to go ahead and put the chipping fluid on the model. Oh, no, actually, excuse me, we're going to go ahead and do the scribing next. Go ahead and do Newton a favor and subscribe to our channel. We'll have lots of content coming up. And each video should get better and better because I'm learning a little bit each time. We appreciate you hanging with us. We appreciate the likes. We appreciate subscribes and any comments that you might have. If you've learned something, let me know. If you can teach me something, by all means, let me know. So it doesn't take a lot of pressure here. We just use the ruler as a straight edge and just gently drag the scribing tool across to reapply the panel lines. All right, it's time to sand the wingtips, and I'm going to start out with some 240, and then we're going to switch over to some 1500 or 1000, and then 1500, and then we're going to go ahead and just give them a light coat of the base coat color. That's an Iwata airbrush. I think it's got a 0.3 needle in it. Iwata Eclipse. It's been a really good airbrush. Okay, so now we're ready to go ahead and glue the wing tips, and we're using Tamiya Extra Thin. I did have to do a little bit of fitting here, and based off of just other parts of the video where I showed fitting, I did not include that part in this video. Just hold that for a few seconds, make sure it's set. And now we're ready to apply a generous coating of chipping fluid. This is an AK chipping fluid. And we're going to paint a brown violet on top of this. This is our secondary color to give us some wear look. Let us know what you think in the comments. That's Mr. Benz there in the corner. He's the resident diva in our house. Went to Stillwater, Minnesota to pick him up. So again, this is just a brown violet Valaejo. We're spraying it with Iowata. And then as soon as that dries, we'll go ahead and perform the chipping with some water and a very stiff brush. This model is meant to have very aggressive weathering effects and quite a bit of battle damage. It will have gone through quite a bit of flak and rain and all kinds of nasties. And so this is one of the more weathered models that I've ever created, but it does fit the scene here. So yeah, we just work our way across, and you want to be pretty aggressive with that brush, or at least I did, to create chips in the various panel lines. And the stippling that we had done earlier too does show through, so that's pretty nice. Now you can see the final effects. And so now we're ready to paint the superchargers, and we're going to start with a real steel and mahogany brown for those. And I'll spare you the entire process, but we'll just go ahead and apply real steel as a base coat. And then I don't have to be super accurate here because I'm going to come back and do quite a few layers here. So we're going to have the mahogany brown, and then a variety of rust tones, and then some oil weatherings that we'll get to as well. I apologize for the focus. I am going to try to shoot the videos in 4K, and I am working to improve on that, but hopefully you can get a good enough sense from this. And I think that you'll find the pictures at the end quite nice. The model turned out very, very well. I just kind of want to show you all how I got to that process. So, all right, now we're ready for the mahogany brown, and I find this to be a good base coat. So I thin this quite a bit, so it is almost like a wash. And I apologize if I'm not using the right terms, but for me anyway, it's very thin. And there's our first coat, and then I'm going to come back with some light rust wash over the top. And then again, I work in layers, and I find that provides a very three-dimensional effect, which is what I'm going for anyway. And again, this plane, based off of reference images, I actually found somebody that was selling one of these superchargers on eBay at the time that I was creating this video, and we're looking at reference images, and they looked like they got quite rusty. So hopefully that's accurate. So now we're going to put a lock in our colors with a top coat, and then we're going to do some additional weathering here after this. All right, so we're going to do some oil wash, and this is quite diluted. It was intentional. I initially didn't want the wash to be very dark. And again, leave a comment and let me know what you think. But in the end, after working on this for a little bit, I did actually find that this wash was too light, and so I came back and darkened it up a little bit. And you'll see those results. Basically, I wasn't getting quite the contrast and battle damage that I was looking for. Some may think that I overdid it, and I would say that maybe I did for most people, but in this particular case, I wanted this plane to look like it was essentially had caught on fire on its way down, and that had quite a bit of damage. So there is the final look right there, and I'm really quite happy with it. When the additional layers are applied on top of it, it looks really nice. So now we're going to come back with a AK pencil. It's called dark aluminum, and I use that to just lightly go over the rivets. In my mind, that's where the wear would most likely occur first, and so I just wanted to highlight those rivets. So this is a white pin wash that I'm going to cover the surface with. Interesting, the top coat that I used was water-based, and it reactivated in a couple places, and in between I actually had to let this dry for several days for it to return back to normal. I was a little nervous at the time. So this is a couple days later, and then we're going to go ahead and put an extra flat varnish on top of that from Valaejo, and I really like this extra flat. I really like the contrast that it creates with all of the undercoats. And again, a broken record here, but if you'll stay with me to the end of the video, you'll see the still images. They look really good. So this is just the best I could do with my cell camera here. All right, it's time to put together the landing gear. I contemplated whether to put it in an up or down position, and I went ahead and decided to go ahead and put it in a down position. And so I'm going to go ahead and lock the wheels in. Now, don't do this at home, especially if you're a child. This is something that needs adult supervision. But we're going to use a dental tool and just gently heat this dental tool with the candle. And we're going to create a hub for this wheel by just gently melting the plastic. And again, make sure that you have adult supervision if you're performing this step. It does not take very much heat. And you just basically just press it together and then you're go. All right, here we go. Here's the battle damage, and I created that smoke effect. And I actually forgot to film when I was creating that. And you can see that engine's had been through quite a lot, and it's pretty much blown up and quite a lot of smoke coming out. So let me show you how I did that. So I took a cotton swab, pulled some of it off, and then I rolled it into the black to create the base black smoke look. And then we'll go ahead, once we get the base black in there, get that worked in, then we'll come back and we'll coat that with silver. And that will give us that gray smoke look. And then we can use a toothpick or another kind of like semi-sharp tool to help pull that apart, and it creates the effect of little smoke tufts. So you can see I use my finger, you can use Q-tip, any number of things, tweezers, etc. And that's the final output. So it does kind of look like it's burning. And again, if you look here at the final images, you'll see how much better it looks. So again, throw me a like. Hope you like these last pictures. And thanks for hanging with me through the video. Thanks for watching Fur Buddy Builds. Be sure to click the link for the previous video in this series, or the next link for the next video in the series.